What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Last Word. I'm Scott Gebertz, and today we are going to be talking about an NFL team that is largely being slept on, in my opinion, and that's the Tennessee Titans. So, Tennessee came into the year with kind of average expectations. They hoped to maybe make the playoffs, and they unfortunately really kind of sucked out of the gate in their first 6 games with Marcus Mariota as their starting quarterback. Okay, they had a record of 2-4. They were averaging 16.3 offensive points per game. They had 11 offensive touchdowns in 6 games, and they had 290 offensive yards per game. Mariota himself was throwing for about 187.8 yards per game, and Derrick Henry, their running back, was only averaging 69.3 rushing yards per game. Okay, things looked bleak for the Titans. They were falling behind in the division race, and after week 6, the Titans, well, actually halfway through the game, they benched Mariota and they put in Ryan Tannehill, who was largely an unknown. He's 31 years old, and he had played the start of his career with the Miami Dolphins and had been a very mediocre quarterback, never done anything exceptional, but had never been bad. He had taken the Dolphins to the playoffs 1 year, and they had lost in the first round. And expectations were kind of that Tannehill would be the same guy as Mariota, kind of a short passer, maybe get the Titans to 6-10 or 8-8 and miss the playoffs. But since Tannehill became the starting quarterback, this dude has just been on fire. He's been one of the hottest QBs in the league, and the Titans have had an unbelievable resurgence since they moved Tannehill to the starting quarterback. Okay, the Titans' record is 6-1. They're averaging 31.4 points per game on offense. They've had 27 offensive touchdowns in their 7 games with Tannehill. They're averaging 395 offensive yards per game, 245.3 passing yards per game. And Derrick Henry, their star running back, is averaging 118.1 rushing yards per game under the leadership of Tannehill at quarterback, almost twice as much as he had with Mariota. Now, Tannehill himself, statistically, has just been phenomenal. Tannehill leads the league in yards per attempt, so he's not just dinking and dunking. He's throwing the ball down the field, attacking defenses vertically. And he also leads the league in passer rating with 118.5. Better than Lamar Jackson, better than Patrick Mahomes, better than Russell Wilson. All these guys. Ryan Tannehill leads the league in passer rating. He's second in the league behind Drew Brees with a completion percentage of 73.4%. Through his 7 games, he has 18 total touchdowns to 5 interceptions. 3 of those touchdowns were rushing and 15 were passing. And another statistic, this is an advanced statistic from Pro Football Reference, Tannehill leads the NFL with the lowest percentage of bad throws. Only 10.6% of his throws are deemed bad. And on top of that, he's second in the league to Drew Brees in terms of on-target throw percentage with 82.3%. Okay, but it's one thing if Tannehill is just playing great, statistically, but the Titans are getting crushed. But that's not the case. They're winning games, and they're winning games by extraordinary amounts, and they're beating solid teams. Okay, Tennessee in their last 4 games, they've reeled off 4 consecutive victories. All right, they played versus Kansas City, who's a playoff team. Right now, they have the 3 seed in the AFC. Their AFC West, I think they already locked up the division, so that they've won the division this season. All right, they just beat the New England Patriots in New England. Tennessee beat Kansas City 35 to 32. And in that game, Ryan Tannehill completed 68.4% of his passes with no interceptions. He had 218 total yards and 2 total touchdowns. So again, in this game, Tannehill wasn't unbelievable, but he played super efficient football and got them a victory. And Derrick Henry, their running back, was exceptional. He had 23 carries for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay? So the next week against Jacksonville, people are kind of like, wow, last week was a crazy win for Tennessee, but upsets happen in the NFL all the time. That's just the way the league is. There's a lot of parity. Nobody was really sure if the Titans were for real. Next week, they played Jacksonville at home. And Jacksonville isn't a very good team, but they had played some teams competitively, and they just demolished Jacksonville, beat them 42-20. Tannehill completed 77.8% of his passes with no interceptions. He had 299 total yards and 4 total touchdowns, 2 passing and 2 rushing. At the same time, Derrick Henry had 19 carries for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, a phenomenal game for a running back. So the next week, they traveled to Indianapolis, and Jacksonville was a divisional victory. So they were starting to kind of claw their way back in the division race. Next game, they play versus Indianapolis. The Colts are ahead of them in the division going into this game, so this is a big game. and they crushed the Colts, beat them 31-17. Tannehill was completed 77.3% of his passes. He had no interceptions, 187 total yards, so not a ton, but again, an efficient outing for him. 2 total touchdowns, and they rode the legs of Derrick Henry, El Tractorcito, 26 carries for 149 yards and a touchdown. He's been one of the best running backs in the league throughout this stretch that he's had with the Titans, and I think he's second in the league in rushing yards now. And then last week, they played at Oakland. That was this Sunday. They played at Oakland, who, again, Oakland's not a great team, but they were like 6-6 going into the game, 6-7. They were still in the hunt for a playoff spot. And on the first drive of the game, Tennessee drove down. They got inside of the Oakland 20-ish yard line, and Tannehill threw an interception on a little screen pass. It was pretty wacky. But some people were doubting. The Raiders, they ran it back really far. They got down into the Titans' territory, and they scored a touchdown. So the Titans had started with the ball, and now they were down 7-0. We were questioning if the Titans were really good or if they were kind of still fall apart against the Raiders and blow all the momentum they had built up over the past 3 weeks. But no. All right, they crushed the Raiders 42-21. Tannehill completed 77.8% of his passes with 1 interception on that screen pass, but then he had 410 total yards, and 3 touchdown passes. So a phenomenal outing from him. And Derrick Henry, again, super efficient, 18 carries for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Derrick Henry has 7 touchdowns over the last 4 games, which is tops in the league for running backs. So at the end of the day, when you look at the Titans, the advanced statistics, the regular statistics, they both tell you that Ryan Tannehill is playing as one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. Derrick Henry is one of the best and most efficient running backs in the league right now. And the Titans are 6-1 since they started Tannehill, with victories over legitimate teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. The New England Patriots haven't beat a single team this season who's winning their division. They lost to the Ravens, they lost to the Texans, they lost to the Chiefs, all 3 of those. Well, the Titans haven't played the Ravens or the Texans yet, but they beat the Chiefs, and the Patriots couldn't do that at home on Sunday. So at the end of the day, the Titans are now 8-5 going into Week 14, and they've reeled off 4 consecutive wins, and so they're tied for first place in the AFC South with the Houston Texans. And the Texans have the tiebreaker over them right now, but the Titans play the Texans in 2 of their final 3 games, and since they both share the same record, if the Titans beat the Texans in both of those games, they win the division and make the playoffs, even if the Titans lose to the New Orleans Saints, which is their 3rd game out of their final 3. And the Saints are a great team, so if they lose to the Saints, hats off to the Saints, but they can still win this division and sneak into the playoffs. And the truth is, the Texans are a team who was just annihilated at home by a team starting a second-round rookie quarterback in the Denver Broncos, who are 5-8. That's really not a good look. They were down 38-3 in the 3rd quarter of that game. Tennessee, on the other hand, is surging, while the Texans are falling down. And so the Titans, at the end of the day, have a great coach in Mike Vrabel, who's inspiring the players to play really hard, play great on offense and on defense, and they are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. On offense, their defense has been good all year, and the truth is, I wouldn't be surprised if this team was still playing football deep in January.